or maybe it's AI, I don't know, but they were there. And guess what? Guess what? There are no more undefeateds. But stop all of the crap. Stop all of it about how Jalen Hurts now can't play or he's hurting or blah, 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 blah. They got beat. What are you going to do? Seriously, the Jets are back in the picture. I think, and I said this from the get-go, Zach Wilson looked pretty good throwing the ball. He can sling the caca all over the place, and he looked good. I don't know what to tell you. Everybody wants to say he looks bad. Everybody wants to say he can't do this. Everybody wants to say he can't do that. You know what I see him doing? I see him moving really well, throwing the ball, and not being afraid. I don't know. I know that Aaron Rodgers is supposed to come back, but word on the street from my people that were there, and I had people that were there, Aaron Rodgers is limping like a crazy person. Yes, he looked good for the cameras. Yes, Aaron Rodgers did this and that. Yes, yes, yes. But the fact of the matter is, he didn't look so good. To two of my friends who were at the game and called me after and said, don't believe this crap on Aaron Rodgers. That seemed like it was made for TV. All right, we're going to talk to Chad Withrow about this. The Titans lost. No, before I get into that, I got to talk about the Bears. I got to talk about the Bears because I'm tired of the Bears and I am a mea culpa. You know, I always tell you when I tell you things that actually happen, and they happen. This is going to happen, and it happens. I'll get into that with Anthony Richardson, but I made a mistake. I stand here before you buck-ass naked, which is a sight nobody needs to see, but I stand before you naked because I told you that Justin Fields was going to be the breakout star in the NFL. I said it. I stand by what I said. I am not afraid at all to admit when I'm wrong, and boy, oh boy, was I wrong. I wasn't even close to right. Justin Fields has been abysmal. And I don't know what you do if you're the Bears. I honestly don't. But he has been abysmal. And ladies and gentlemen, he got hurt. And he got hurt, and this is how bad the Bears are. They brought in a backup quarterback from a Division III team called Shepherd. Now, I think I know most teams. I do. When you coach, you kind of sort of know most teams. You kind of sort of know Division III, all that kind of stuff. Fields goes out with a hand injury. They don't have anybody to replace him except for Tyson Bagent. B-A-G-E-N-T. So I'm watching the game, and the kid looks good. He's heavily tattooed. He's got some satchel to him. Next thing you know, strip, sack, touchdown, run it back, fumble, boom. But they're still in the game. And Tyson is driving them. And Tyson is getting them. And next thing you know, he throws one up in the air. He throws a wounded duck up in the air, intercepted. DJ Moore tries to catch up to the interceptor. Strip it, can't do it. 2-4 is where the Vikings go. And the Bears continue at 1-5. And the Bears had absolutely nothing. I mean, look, and to make matters, I guess worse, the hand injury for Fields will be evaluated and we'll probably know more today. Speaking of injuries, in the AFC South, all of our friends here, there we go. All of our friends here from Nashville, Nash Vegas, baby, they love the Titans. I love Vrabel. Vrabel helped my bikes program, but I got to tell you, they stinks. Ryan Tannehill out. Ryan Tannehill got himself an ankle. They were playing Baltimore in the early game, and I don't know if you saw this, but our leader, our boss, Clay Travis, has been all over this. Malik Willis might be the worst quarterback, I don't know since who. I mean, the Bears used to throw out some guys that you never heard of even in college. But I got to tell you, this guy, Malik Willis, wow, and it says to me, hey, Will Levis, if you can't, as a rookie, beat this guy out as a second-year guy, how bad are you? I mean, I know we're all supposed to talk about Levis's ex-girlfriend who went on to take her clothes off, put her finger in her mouth, and make more money after dumping him. But Will Levis, my goodness, that wasn't really even a game. It really wasn't. It was a game. Not really. All right, let's continue. I told you this was going to happen. And remember, I will tell you when things I'd said were right, and I'll tell you when I said things that were wrong. But I told you this about Anthony Richardson and the Colts. The Colts got belly-whomped. It was 37-20, but it really wasn't that close. In fact, you can make the argument that the Colts under Gardner Minshew actually had to play, I don't know, horribly to only get beat by 17. And they played horribly, and Minshew was god-awful. Minshew looked terrible. Minshew kept throwing the ball to the other team. In fact, I asked myself, Minshew, are you fixing? Are you fixing? I thought maybe he was throwing. I thought maybe the boys in the desert got to him. I thought maybe the boys on the south side of Indy, where gambling is legal, got to Minshew because he was god-awful. But here's the bigger news, and we told you this. Remember when Anthony Richardson went down? We told you the guy that called that play, naked bootleg, only Richardson out there, should be fired immediately. Now, Indianapolis Star guys are blaming the turf, and the turf does suck. But that's not why Richardson got hurt. Richardson got hurt because they called the naked bootleg, and people have to hit him really, really hard to get him down. And when they hit him really, really hard, they land on him, and they landed on his shoulder. And I told you this. He was going to need surgery because the shoulder, once it pops out, I've had this, I've had numerous players have this, once it pops out, it continues to pop out. It just does. It's not like it pops out once and it never comes and gets stronger. No, the only thing you can do with it is surgery. Now, you can wait on it. You can let the body do what the body does, heal itself, but that's not going to help you because eventually it's going to pop out again and again and again. Both my wife, the lovely Lee Ross, and I have had this. Both of us had to go get surgery. Both of us now, we didn't rehab it like we should, so the surgery didn't do all that it should. It's our fault, not the doctor's, but it doesn't pop out. It doesn't do that anymore. And we told you that was going to happen. And that's so unfortunate, but I'm telling you, a naked bootleg with a guy that is bigger than linebackers, is bigger than safeties, is damn near bigger than edge rushers, so you got to pound him into the turf, and they did. Oh, by the way, Bill Belichick, well, he went to 1-5. Bill Belichick last seen slamming one of those clipboards slamming one of those iPads onto the ground. I'm telling you, and I've been telling you, and I'm going to be right about this, Robert Kraft going to fire him. Robert Kraft is going to fire him unless this turns itself around dramatically. And what can they go? So they're 1-5. That's 6 games. They got 11 left. Let's say they win 9. They got to basically win 9 out of 11, I think, to keep his job. I don't think 9-8 does it. I honestly don't. I think they've had enough of Bill Belichick, and I think Bill Belichick probably has had enough of New England. So this is going to be a mutual parting of the ways. Mark my words. You know, let's go to college. Marcus Freeman seems like a nice dude. Marcus Freeman makes our friend Gritty swoon. The quarterback, Sam Hartman, with his hair and his nice coiffed beard, he makes women all across the country swoon. I heard or saw a very popular woman on, I don't know what it was, YouTube or InstaFace, I don't know. She was talking about forget Travis Kelce, forget Tom Brady. The new heartthrob in football is Sam Hartman. Well, maybe he is. He can throw the caca. He can sling the caca, and he can sling it deep. Well, guess what? Caleb Williams got exposed by Notre Dame's defense. Caleb Williams, in front of a crazy packed house. I had a good friend of mine, the great Cameron Safali, sent me a text. He took his 3 boys to the game and said, this place is rocking. It was one of those nights in South Bend, and this happens a lot of places where they really care. You're just not winning in that place. Happens more in basketball because of the close proximity, the close quarters, but you're just not winning sometimes at Notre Dame Stadium. And there was no chance, 0 chance. There is no D in USC. Caleb Williams kept throwing the ball to the other team. Marcus Freeman did an absolute masterful job of making sure Williams didn't beat him, and the offense gave you a ton. And oh, by the way, Notre Dame decided to run the football. Notre Dame decided, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to run the damn football. No kidding. No kidding. I mean, I'm a little shocked by that. Notre Dame actually running the football with guys that can actually run the football. That Estime is a load. Just give the dude the football. 22 carries, 95 yards, a touchdown. Just give him the damn football. I mean, quit screwing around. The dude is a load. The dude can run fast. Hell, I've seen the dude at 240 jump over people. He seems to be a special player. And as a special player, you got to give him the rock, and you got to do it like voting in Chicago. You got to do it early and often, or else we're wasting our time here. Jeez. All right, speaking of Notre Dame, watch what I do here. I'm piggybacking on Notre Dame with a take, ladies and gentlemen, and a very good one on Brian Kelly. You know, I don't know Brian Kelly. I got a friend that was his roommate. They were both graduate assistants at Grand Valley. My buddy Worm went out to Hollywood and became a very famous in the indie world of films producer and filmmaker. Brian Kelly became a very famous in the world of football coach, a very successful football coach. But every time he loses, man, oh man, you guys just want to crush Brian Kelly's soul. You want to hit him where it hurts. You want to hurt the man. You want to say he sucks. Brian Kelly does a lot of things, but he don't suck as a football coach. Brian Kelly's a dude as a football coach. Brian Kelly's a guy that can coach football today, tomorrow, and the next day. And if you don't believe it, well, then you're just a hater and not paying attention. 48-16. 48-18. That's what LSU did to Auburn. Now remember, Auburn is a proud program. Auburn brought back the Mad Jacker, Hugh Freeze, right? Wasn't Hugh Freeze guy with the hookers, the strippers, whatever, the 1-900 Love Me Lots lines? I think he was. 1-900 Love Me Lots. Hi, Hugh here. Coach, how are you? Well, guess what? LSU players had to use hand signals during the game because the joint was so loud. Football's intricate, man. Basketball, you use hand signals, two down. That means you back cut. This, which means a high ball screen. What do you want me to tell you? Horns, 2 guys on the elbows. Football, you got to get 11 dudes on the same page using hand signals. That ain't easy. But again, it just shows you Brian Kelly can really coach. And I'm tired of you guys ripping his ass. The game of the day, well, Dan Lanning, Oregon, went for it on 4th down, didn't get it, terrible call. People are killing him. But you know what? Michael Penix Jr. Now I'm worried. Wait, let me jump up here a little higher. Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. was going to go to Tennessee. He didn't. Then he was going to go to Indiana. He did. Then he played well at Indiana during COVID, but he was about this big around. He kept getting hurt. Michael Penix found his way out to Washington. Michael Penix has been a clutch player. Michael Penix led a hell of a drive, culminating in a touchdown pass for Washington to beat Oregon in a great game that now has the Washington Huskies in the top 5 and firmly ensconced in the college football playoff conversation. And frankly, Michael Penix Jr., probably the front runner for the Heisman. Bo Nix was terrific. Penix was terrific-er. Penix got the win. But here's what I would say. See, here's the problem. I'm sure that now Heisman votes are starting to roll in. Heisman votes should not be the Heisman should not be voted on. I don't care what day the TV has for the Heisman Trophy. I don't care. Votes should not be tabulated or even sent out until after the conference championship game. That's a part of the season. Let's see what happens in the biggest of games. And by the way, Penix with Washington beating Oregon was the biggest of games. However, they may get a chance to play again. And if they get a chance to play again, who knows what's going to happen? Ladies and gentlemen, will you indulge me for just a minute? 6-0. That's what the house bet is. 6 de nada. And it played out, I believe, exactly as I said it would. Miami Hurricanes went into North Carolina. Drake May, another Heisman guy. Hey, it wasn't like Miami was going to lay down, but they eventually did. Here's what happens when your team is not totally connected. I played on one. You have a team that will come out and fight. Yeah, they'll battle. They'll battle. And if they get lucky breaks, maybe a fumble and interception, they might be up. But here's what always happens, and this is what happened. The line was 3. North Carolina ended up winning by 10. Why? It takes a village. It takes the entire village moving in the same direction. Last week, ladies and gentlemen, Mario Cristobal did one of the dumbest things, if not the dumbest you'll ever see. Could have taken a knee and won the game. He didn't. They ran it. Running back fumbled. Now, we never blame the player because, well, they're kids. BS. They're adults. They should be blamed. The kid shouldn't fumble. Cristobal, all right, he took it. But, hey, you don't even know the name of the kid that fumbled, do you? Of course not. Well, guess what? Guess what? They did it again. Miami's coaching staff did it again. Late in the first half, Miami had gotten a stop. Miami's assistant coach decided, I'm going to go on the field and I am going to act like an idiot to get a timeout. All right. Well, he goes on the field, acts like an idiot, and next thing you know, guess what? Guess what happens? Unsportsmanlike penalty. Unsportsmanlike penalty, and next thing you know, the drive continues, and next thing you know, boom. Guess what? A touchdown. Why? Because some maniac college football coach decided that he had to go onto the field. I just had to. I had to go on. I had to get out. I just had to. I'm sorry. I did. I had to go out onto the field and act like an idiot. Well, guess what? Guess what? He did. They got a touchdown. Shannon Dawson, I believe. No, Guidry was his name. And Guidry was his name. Oh, guess what? Didn't work out so good. Miami's coaching staff is costing their players, and they should be upset. All right, lastly, we didn't get a chance to talk about this, but Friday night, Deion Sanders' team was up 29-0. A post came at halftime from the quarterback of Colorado, Shedeur Sanders, on Instagram. The post was selling Shedeur Sanders merch. Now, I don't know who had access, but Shedeur Sanders, it was his Instagram, personal. So this clown is sitting at halftime up 29-0 against Stanford. Next thing you know, they lose. Next thing you know, two guys that have been gargling the scrotum of Deion Sanders, Mark Jones and Louis Riddick, didn't really know how to act. They were acting like long-lost uncles, calling the quarterback Shedeur and the defensive back Shiloh. That's their first names. Never heard that before. Some clowns that love Deion Sanders, when I pointed this out on Twitter, said, well, how do you differentiate the two? Pretty simple. One plays offense, one plays defense. I don't know. If I said Sanders drops back to pass, I would think we'd be thinking about the quarterback. I don't know. If we said Sanders with the interception, I would think we'd be talking about the cornerback. Just makes sense to me. Maybe not you, but to me. But ladies and gentlemen, I am a simple man. Period. So Deion Sanders loses, and he now does the thing that he does. You people, meaning white people, are happy when they lose. Not really. Deion Sanders' team is interesting, but I got to tell you, if you're putting out merch posts at halftime, yeah, I ain't too sad you lost. I ain't mad about it. All right, my top story, number 3, Major League Baseball host apologized after calling a writer a jerk-off for reporting Braves player jabs at Bryce Harper. Oh, boy. You know, we let these little kids in. We let them in. We let, you know, I mean, we got these women and these blogger boys and all these guys. There's a guy named Jake Mintz. Jake Mintz was the reporter. He's a blogger. And next thing you know, Jake Mintz took a comment by this guy Arcia, Orlando Arcia, saying, attaboy, Harper taking a shot at the 2-time MVP, blah, 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 blah. Well, Alana Rizzo, who is a self-important D-bag with Major League Baseball Network, vehemently disagreed. Vehemently. because Arcia really didn't want Harper to know about the comment. It was in the locker room. Alana Rizzo, who we're all supposed to take so seriously. I'm so irritated with all these people, these bloggers or podcasters, or not even reporters, or not even journalists going into the clubhouse. Rizzo's really important. Oh, she's something. Well, guess what? Mintz is a member of the Baseball Writers Association of America. You're ruining it for the rest of us. The guys that come in the postseason and don't have a clue of the pulse of the team, and it's making it worse for the people that are there every single day covering this team. This little whiny ass comment is like historical. This has been said forever. Ask the guys with Indiana basketball how irritated they are when Dave Calabro and the guys from Channel 13 come down. They only come down once a year. And then you got to deal with these clowns, these hairsprays. And then it gets even deeper with Ms. Rizzo. And then some jerk-off comes in at the end of the season that gets a credential. God only knows why, because only serious reporters like Ms. Rizzo. And the clubhouse is a sacred place. She wouldn't know a clubhouse from a club cracker. And remember, I've been in clubhouses for the last 16, 17 years. I remember I would go in there, get my job done, and get out. That's their space. So for this idiot to go in there and take some out of context just to give himself a name is ridiculous. Hell hath no fury, right? And yeah, I'm making fun of her as a journalist, as a woman, as everything. Because that's what we do. If a dude was saying it, we'd be like, this dude is a punk. Now, do you want to be treated equal, or do you want to treat it equal but special? Shut up, Ms. Rizzo. Well, the Baseball Writers of America, whatever it is, called Rizzo's comments unprofessional and unacceptable. Now, Rizzo, of course, had to go and apologize because I don't understand it. Women are usually exempt. Now, if she was an African-American woman, she wouldn't have to apologize for nothing. But what I said yesterday about Jake was completely inappropriate. It was inaccurate. And it was beyond unprofessional. I got caught up in the heat of the moment. What moment? You don't play. You don't have anything. You don't have any skin in the game. Shut up. Go in the locker room, like you said, for 16, 17 years and get out. Who cares? I've had an interesting 24 hours. Yeah, you have, because your bosses told you, hey, you're going to fire your ass. I've learned a lot more, and I apologize to Jake. I've talked to him already. I apologize to him privately. I also apologize to him publicly. Obviously, the Phillies had the last laugh. Harper went deep. There were T-shirts all over saying, attaboy, Harper. I love it. You know, you just get tired of reporters. They're liars. They're disingenuous. They're stupid. They're petty. And this Rizzo lady's no different. Get off my lawn, lady. Just get off my lawn. Well, I can't believe you said lady. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? You get tired of people. You get tired of the whining. You get tired of all the crap. When you sit there and you got to listen to somebody so self-important calling others jerk off. Remember, do that to a woman. I had women mad at me. I had the entire women's world because I said this lady bitched at me. Oh, my God, can you believe it? Oh, my God. I mean, he said, bitch, that's so sexist, so misogynist. She should be fired, but she's not going to be fired. People have been fired for less. There isn't anybody in the world that turns on any network and says, I want to see what Elena Rizzo has to say. Boy, wouldn't it be interesting if Elena, whatever the hell her name is, Rizzo, had a take on this? You tune in because this is what I do. You tune in at Indiana every single time I do a radio show or something when something happens in Indiana because the entire state is on edge about what I'm going to say, and I totally get it. But I don't think there's anybody in the world that wants to know what Elena Rizzo thinks about anything. Dan Plezak, absolutely. Harold Reynolds, no question. I can't think of one female reporter that anybody tunes into. Oh, man, I got to get her take on it. Now, you can call that sexist. I call it treating people alike. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You tell me, do people really tune in to see what Sally Jenkins had to say? No different than Dan Wolken at USA Today. Nobody tunes in to hear what these guys have to say. Nobody. Not a soul. So just stop it, stupid. Nobody tunes in. Not even a little bit to hear an Atlanta Rizzo. Good for her, though. She did make a name for herself. Good for her. Listen to this. This will be considered sexist while we talk about women. Kim NG, I don't know how you say NG, out as Marlin general manager after the Marlins declined the mutual option on her contract. They said the organization initially exercised this team option on NG, the first woman to serve as a GM in Major League Baseball, but then they said, nah, we ain't doing it. No. Apparently, NG is going to go to Boston. I mean, come on. You cannot fire an Asian woman. I mean, who are we crapping here? We can act like you can, but you really can't. You know you can't. Come on. Everybody knows that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you guys, you think ESPN is going to say the stuff that I say? You think ESPN or anybody anywhere is going to tell you the truth like I'm telling you? You think you can fire an Asian woman? You think you can fire a woman? I mean, Atlanta, whatever her name is, Rizzo, probably got a raise. Hey, Elena, somebody actually knows who the hell you are. Somebody actually knows. All right. Seriously. Hey, we hired you because, diversity. No, you're the smartest one out there. She probably is. But when you're not any good and your team isn't any good, you get fired. I mean, it makes people crazy. People want equality until guess what? You get equality. And then you get your ass fired just like everybody else. Like, I guarantee you, that's what I said about Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman, that was a huge game to beat USC. That showed they could actually beat someone that's supposed to be pretty good. Huge. He loses that one. Oh, my God, 3 losses already. People are going to be crushing his soul. You're going to have to dig out the race card for this one. But the fact of the matter is Notre Dame football was trying to fire Lou Holtz 2 years after he just won a national championship for a tie against Michigan. That's just the way it is. And nothing to do with color, nothing to do with race, nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with sex. It's sports, baby. Hey, look, there's a woman that's all mad because she got traded in the WNBA because she got pregnant. You traded me because I got pregnant? Hell yeah, I traded you because you got pregnant. I don't need a pregnant woman here. I need somebody who's going to help me win. Go do your thing, baby. The other team wants you. I don't. I want people that are all about this team winning, period. But I know I'm wrong. I know I am. Indiana fans tell me this every single day. They tell me it every day that I'm wrong. Look, the only thing I care about, if I ever went back into sports in any way, shape, and form, is one letter, W. And getting W's is all I would care about. Hiring people, recruiting people. People in my organization would have to be about W's. You want to get pregnant, you can't play, go somewhere else. You want to fake an injury? If you're a dude, go somewhere else. Hey, I don't care. Don't matter to me. But the fact of the matter is, guess what? Hell yeah, I traded you because you got pregnant. Best ability, availability. I want people that are going to help me win. Hey, conversely, I would trade for somebody if they got pregnant and they could help me win. I'd trade for somebody with 3 heads if they could help me win. Yeah, I got a head going here, a head going here. I'd get Siamese twins if they'd help me win. But anyway, Kim NG, Gin? I don't know. NG, I don't know. Out as Marlins general manager. She'll find work. During the preseason, Patriots head coach Bill Belichick released both Bailey Zappi and Malik Cunningham. Now, I watched Malik Cunningham, and I like Malik Cunningham. At some point, Bill Belichick's going to have to just figure this out. He let the world know that Mac Jones is the guy. He said Mac Jones is the guy, but in a surprise move, the Pats signed Cunningham not to a practice squad contest, but to a 3-year deal. A 3-year deal on Saturday. A move that Belichick, is he prepping for the post-Mac Jones season? I don't know. I have no idea, but I know this. Mac Jones made me some money last night. That's right. I took the Raiders to win the game, but I took Mac Jones, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. I took Mac Jones over 197. I did. I took 197 over and a half, and he went over. And he went over easy. Easy. He did. So guess what? I like Mac Jones. I don't know about Malik Cunningham. I don't know if he's any good, but I will tell you this. When I watched Malik Cunningham, even at Louisville, he was damn good. When I watched Malik Cunningham, I thought he was really, really, really good. I thought Malik Cunningham looked like the modern NFL quarterback. I thought he could move. I thought he moved with his head up, and I thought he had a strong arm. Now, let's be honest. Let's just be honest. You got to be able to move in the modern NFL. I'm not saying you got to be a running quarterback, because running quarterbacks get hurt. They do. They get pounded. And if you are all about the run, then guess what? You end up where AR-15 or whatever the hell his number is, 5, Anthony Richardson is, getting shoulder surgery. That's right. That's what you end up doing. That's where you end up. So at the end of the day, I don't know how you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Isn't that the definition of insanity? Isn't that what the deal is? I think it is. I do. Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, I believe, is the definition of insanity. Well, guess what? They're doing it over and over and over and over and over again in New England. They're 1-5 in New England. They don't have nothing in New England. They got squat in New England. New England is getting its brains beat out as we sit here. They are getting their brains beat out. And Max Crosby is the best defensive player that I have seen this year. Max Crosby caused a safety by Mac Jones, which basically sealed the deal last night or yesterday afternoon for Oakland. And I got to tell you, Max Crosby does this every day. Everybody should do this. Everybody should do their job with the energy that Max Crosby does his job. They should. Max Crosby starts the game going 1,000 miles an hour. Max Crosby ends the game going 1,000 miles an hour. The kid from Eastern Michigan, that's just what he does. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, well, they have no answer for him in the NFL. Not at this point. I know Aaron Donald is great. Chris Jones, fantastic. There's a bunch of guys. Khalil Mack had a monster game the other day. But I got to tell you, as I watch this, I ain't not seen nobody play like Max Crosby. And to the Patriots, you're going to have to make a choice here pretty soon, because it ain't working. And reason you signed Malik Cunningham to not a practice squad deal isn't, ladies and gentlemen, isn't because you think that he's a practice squad player. You signed him to a 3-year deal because I got to believe Bill Belichick believes this guy to be a starter at some point. Period. That's how I look at it. I could be wrong. I could be. I don't know. but that's what it seems to me. If we're going to give a guy a 3-year deal, it seems to me when he's never played it down, then we think there is something there. Now, make no mistake, we're getting to the point where Bill Belichick needs hope. Down with dope, up with hope. And I got to tell you, Malik Cunningham, at least to me, what I saw back in the day represents hope. Mac Jones, at least what I saw yesterday and the game before and the game before and the game before represents, I don't know. You tell me. I don't know what he represents other than getting your ass kicked. That's all I got to say. Getting your ass kicked is it. That's it. That's what he represents. 1-5, and here's the deal. And this will be it before we go to Chad Withrow. You can go down with the ship, as Bill Belichick seems like he wants to do. But I got to tell you, Malik Cunningham is right there. Might as well give him a shot. Hey, Chad Withrow is going to join us. We're going to find out what in the hell is going on in Tennessee and also take a little trip across the NFL. And we got Mike Singletary coming up. We do. We got Mike Singletary coming up when we come back.
Looking for the hottest sportsbook offers? At OutKick, find exclusive promotions, expert picks, and the latest odds. Get in the game at OutKick.com/bet.
What does it say to you when there's these business owners who don't understand your vision of what you have for these places? I mean, you're giving them publicity at the end of the day. Even if you're not giving them the best review on the board, you're still putting their name out there on a platform that allows millions of people to realize their business when otherwise they probably would have just remained, a smaller business.
Yeah, he's a moron. It had nothing to do with how I was ranking the pizza. And he said that. He said a million things, like he doesn't want publicity. He keeps talking about it, but he just hated me. He didn't really know who I was. I'm sure it's the way his politics are, because if you go look at his feed, it's what I'd expect. It's extreme left. And those are the types of people who generally hate me before they meet me. But he said he wanted to yell at me before I even stepped in the store. So it had nothing to do with the review. And he's a clown show. He is one of the worst people. He's everything that is wrong with this country. And that's not exaggerating, but he's made up his mind before he meets somebody, picks a fight, and then, the rest is history. But for me, it's good. It was the most viral thing we've had in a long time.
Yeah. And have you had any other pizza owners from places you covered in the past reach out to you and say, wow, we can't believe this guy? Like, look at the great things that you've done for our business because of the One Bite Pizza review. Yeah.
That's the thing that's crazy. There's a lot of things that people could cherry pick that people have said about me that be like, oh, he's a bad guy, this and that. Pizza and small business is not one of them. That pretty uniformly across the board. People like Dave, very good for pizza. He's very good for small business. It's how we're doing this pizza fest. Like, we get places that would never do it, but it's like, we like I did an interview with Lucali, which is one of the most famous pizza places there is. And they're asking Mark, the owner, is like, why'd you agree? We don't see Lucali doing this type of thing. It's like, Dave has done so much good for the pizza industry. This guy didn't care. This guy had no answers. He was just a clown.
Gentlemen, you see him, you know him, you love him. He is the great Chad Withrow. You see him every afternoon, 3 to 6 Eastern, 2 to 5 Central Time on Hot Mic. All right, let's get right into it. I saw that the boss man, Clay Travis, not real excited about what the hell was going on with Malik Willis. Now, I'm not going to pretend and say that I watched the entire game, but I do have the ticket, so it was on. How bad was he?
So first off, Dan, thanks for having me on, and God bless you for not watching that entire game, because no one should have been subjected to that. I actually feel bad for speaking of subjects, the loyal subjects of the King of England that attended that game yesterday, because it was not pretty. Look, the Tennessee Titans are a poorly coached team, and I'm willing to say it. And I think Titans fans are still in this mode of blaming John Robinson, who's no longer there, who got fired last year after they got blown out by Philly as general manager. They want to blame him for everything and not look at the obvious. And the obvious is this is a poorly coached football team. Penalties, not getting lined up correctly, putting a guy back deep with 7 seconds left in the half, where the only thing that could happen was something bad, with him muffing the punt and then giving the Ravens 3 points before the half, which is exactly what happened. I think Mike Vrabel has been good in the past. I think this is a poor job by him and his staff this year. Titans are poorly coached, and Malik Willis, he was bad a year ago when they gave him a chance, when Tannehill went out. They had to go find Josh Dobbs off the street and bring him in to start 2 games, and he looked light years better than Malik Willis did. So they try to cover up for the mistake of drafting him in the 3rd round by trading up early in the 2nd round to draft Will Levis. And, oh, by the way, Dan, Will Levis is 3rd on the depth chart. Will Levis can't pass the guy who can't pass for the Titans on the depth chart, and he's supposedly the quarterback of the future. I look around the AFC South. I think Anthony Richardson's got something for Indy. Certainly C.J. Stroud has got it going for the Texans right now. The Jags are light years better. The Titans are a distant 4th place. Not just standings-wise. They're a distant 4th place when I look around and see this team right now. And if Malik Willis has to start for an extended period of time, which may be the case, and they don't at least put Will Levis in to see what they have with him, it's going to go from bad to awful for the Titans quickly.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a bad division. The Colts, Minshew has been terrible, or he was terrible. Yes, I don't think he's been terrible, but he was terrible yesterday. I look at the Titans and I say this. All right, there's got to be some talent there, right? I mean, at least from the playmaker standpoint, you know what you got in Hopkins. You know what you got in Jeffrey Simmons in the middle, and you know what you got with Derrick Henry.
Yeah, it's just there's not a lot you can really rely on, though, right, except for Derrick Henry, who I think had a pretty good day yesterday. Offensive line has been really bad. Ryan Tannehill's been okay. He hasn't been the problem, hasn't been the biggest problem for the Titans. Hopkins has been somewhat productive at times. He only had the 1 catch yesterday, but they targeted him a lot. And I think he drew 3 DPI penalties in the game when they were targeting him, which were some of the biggest plays of the day for the Titans, but has not been able to find the end zone. And then defensively, Jeffrey Simmons is absolutely a strength. I think Tierre Tart, when healthy, is a difference maker also. They've got some good guys, but Kevin Byard is having a really bad season based on what you would expect from him. The secondary has been atrocious at times with Christian Fulton, who had a huge penalty to lose them the game against Indy. So I just look at the Titans team and roster right now, and it's sort of a hodgepodge of nothing. You don't really have much you can rely on with this team. And, I mean, how many teams in the AFC are you putting the Titans ahead of right now based on results and the way they've looked? Not a lot. Denver, they're ahead of them. They may be 3rd or 4th to worst in the AFC at this point, and I don't think many people expected that coming into the year. And it's time to start to look at the coaching staff for their role in this too, because this is an undisciplined, poorly coached team.
Yeah, you know what? And I got to tell you, I'm not all that shot in the ass with how the Colts have been coached. You mentioned the Titans. C.J. Stroud seems to be a guy that you can maybe build around down in Texas. I will say this, and watching yesterday, 2 weeks ago, I thought Trevor Lawrence looked slow. Maybe 3 weeks ago, I thought he looked slow. I looked injured to me. His ball had a hump on it. And then over the last 3 weeks, that guy's looked damn good. Travis Etienne, they're the class of the division, and I think they're getting better in Jacksonville.
Imagine how much better they would be if they just played all their games in London. If Shah Khan got his way, Dan, and just moved that team to London, I mean, it is like going into a cryogenic chamber for Trevor Lawrence and coming out 5 years younger, a lot faster, a lot smarter. Every time they go to London, they play those 2 games over there. They win both, and he looks great in those games, and he's able to come back home and keep it rolling. Those trips across the pond have been terrific for Jacksonville. I feel the same way. I thought Trevor Lawrence looked very average to start the season, and he's really picked it up the last few weeks. And we always forget about this when Jacksonville struggles at times early on. And then we get that reminder that, oh, yeah, when you draft in the top 3 every single year, you're going to have some dudes across the defensive front. which they do with Walker, the number 1 overall pick out of Georgia a couple years ago, with Josh Allen, from Kentucky also. They've got some real dudes across that defense, good defensive line, great secondary. So that team is starting to pick it up right now for Jacksonville. And I'm with you. I don't think the AFC South is that good, but I think Jacksonville should be the class of the division, and they're starting to come into their own a little bit.
Yeah, man. They really have. I mean, and again, I went from 2 weeks ago saying I'm not big on Lawrence. I'm not. Hey, we got injury problems all across the league. The 49ers dealing with 2 of their best, McCaffrey, Samuels. Tannehill goes down. Fields goes down. Looks like our guy here, Richardson's going to have shoulder surgery, which is going to end his season. You know what, Chad? I've always said this. You can't get your best players hurt. You just can't do it.
You're right, and especially if it's quarterback. Well, unless you're Cleveland, where Deshaun Watson gets hurt and P.J. Walker goes out and wins their biggest game of the year against previously undefeated San Francisco. So that was maybe a net gain for them, shockingly enough, at least for 1 week. Yeah, I think the one thing that this is the one thing that alarms owners, is when starting quarterbacks, that's the face of the franchise, that's the moneymaker for these teams, when those guys go down, that's a huge issue for the league. It's also a big issue for the networks that pay so much money. Because what you don't want is Gardner Minshew versus whoever this kid is for the Chicago Bears, as an example, when Justin Fields goes down, right? The rookie from Shepherd University that played Division III football. That's what the networks don't want. They can't sell that. They can sell Josh Allen versus Jalen Hurts. They can sell Patrick Mahomes versus anyone. But once the starting quarterbacks start to go down and get injured, that's what's alarming for the league. The other guys is terrible, right? Whether it be Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, these are big-time playmakers and players for these teams, and it's something that definitely the local markets take note of. But when the starting quarterbacks start to get injured, that's a problem for the league. It's definitely a problem for the individual teams, don't get me wrong, but it's a bigger problem for the league that owners are going to pay attention to.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. And I don't know what else you can do with quarterbacks. I mean, I feel like they've done everything possible. And the other part is I think players are being pretty smart. I've saw all weekend guys showing their hands, guys not taking extra shots. Maybe a few teams did. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say I watched every single play, but I watched a hell of a lot of football. And I think players are okay with the modern rules in terms of how you do or don't hit a quarterback and not hitting a guy out of bounds or that's going out of bounds. I think we've all kind of acquiesced to those things.
Yeah, I think especially with a quarterback. We had in the Titans-Ravens game, Kyle Hamilton got ejected for what I thought was a dirty hit. It was blatant helmet-to-helmet, knocked a receiver out, Titans, and he got ejected from the game. So that's one that I would say was pretty egregious. What fascinates me is when the quarterbacks take off and run, and I think this is the example that you're talking about, Dan. Watch defenders and how awkward they are trying to decide what to do with a runner. That's a quarterback. The quarterback can always get 4 to 5 more yards on a run because defenders are so hesitant, even as they run the football, to come and tackle them the way they would a running back or the way they would a tight end. So when that quarterback takes off, I think a lot of times, and a lot of guys will slide early, but if they decide not to slide and just move forward, Josh Allen does this a lot because they know that defenders are going to hold up because they're trying hard not to get that 15-yard penalty by touching the quarterback in a way that would be deemed inappropriate. So I see that a lot with quarterbacks as runners.
I believe Belichick will be fired. Do you?
Yep, I do. I think time is up for Bill Belichick. I also think he's going to get another job quickly. I really do. I think he's going to pass Don Shula's wins record with another team. I think he's going to have 3 more seasons with another franchise, and he'll win enough games to pass that mark. But I think that it's over in New England. This team just doesn't have anything. Even in a game they were in yesterday, you see Mac Jones make a couple of huge mistakes. They don't have the quarterback. They don't have some outstanding defensive prowess or strategic advantage with Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia and his coaching staff that maybe we saw a little bit of in years past. They just don't have it. And I think it would be – look, I think Robert Kraft is sitting there thinking, is Bill Belichick the guy that's going to turn this around and restart and fix this thing the way we want it fixed. I think there's some lingering animosity from Kraft towards Belichick because he bought Belichick when he said that Brady was done, and whoops, Brady goes to Tampa and wins the Super Bowl in year one. I think that hurts Bill Belichick. It just isn't good with the Patriots, and I think this is his last season as Patriots head coach.
You know, it's interesting. I just said this, and I'm curious. I watched Malik Cunningham in college. I'm not going to say I studied him, but to me, he's big, he's strong, he runs pretty good, and he throws it. They signed him to a 3-year deal. I would think that at least, I don't know, maybe I'm dead wrong, but at least Malik Cunningham represents hope.
Yeah, and it also represents a chance to maybe save your job. I mean, what if Malik Cunningham comes in? I mean, if you just keep doing the same thing over and over with Mac Jones, you know exactly what to expect. But if you give Malik Cunningham a chance and he goes out and surprises you, I mean, maybe you don't believe he's a franchise quarterback, but maybe he can go out and can be a different change of pace enough where the Patriots start winning some and they look a little bit better. And suddenly the discussion shifts to, man, Bill Belichick changed things up. You know, he saw something like we've seen 1,000 times before with Belichick, seeing something in a veteran guy when the rest of the league gave up on him, or seeing something in a 4-year player in college that was super productive, that maybe his 40 time was a little bit slower, but Belichick can bring him into the Patriot way and they can be something. Suddenly that becomes the narrative around the team if they do that. And I would also just say, what do you have to lose at this point with that team, with the losses piling up, with the 2 weeks prior to this one really hitting rock bottom the way they looked in those games? So I'd be all for it. Might as well roll the dice at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, you signed him to a 3-year deal, so I don't know why you would do that if you didn't think that he at least had a chance, you know, because you didn't have to do that. Hey, let me go a couple directions with you. 0-6, Frank Reich and the Carolina Panthers. Now, again, you know, people are going to say you shouldn't have drafted Bryce Young. This gets interesting for a quarterback because we attach the record as a starter to the quarterback. Used to be just a coach, right? But now it's attached to the quarterback, and that's a problem for a young quarterback.
Yeah, and I still think that Bryce Young he was the best quarterback coming into this draft. I still think that he could be the best quarterback of this crop, but C.J. Stroud's making it difficult, at least in the start to his career, for me to really believe that. The team around him is awful, right? You're right, Dan. It's not all on Bryce Young here. He has not looked good, though, up until yesterday. He showed some signs of life in a loss to Miami. But it is a tough way to start when you're the number 1 overall pick. And this is always like the cautionary tale of why you maybe start a veteran early, let him, get used to it and this and that. Because we saw it with Peyton Manning in his rookie year in Indy. We've seen it before where guys just take a beating. I think of the Carr brothers, both of them early in their career, especially David Carr when he was in Houston, just taking a beating, taking a bunch of losses. And what does that do to the psyche of the quarterback? What does that do to them? I think if you've got the right guy who's got the right stuff, it's not going to bother him psychologically. It's just going to make them have more resolve moving forward. And I think that's going to eventually be Bryce Young. But this year's ugly. There's no way around it.
What do you think about the Jets? What do you think about Robert Saleh? We've embarrassed every quarterback we've played. We haven't won all our games. And, Zach Wilson, I don't know, got it done, I guess. If we're going to give quarterbacks the blame, we might as well give them some love.
A huge win. Look, I'm rooting for the Jets. I hate it that Aaron Rodgers went down. I find it kind of a cool story if they're able to hang around and be relevant throughout the season and be in the playoff mix. Zach Wilson has improved the last few weeks, gotten a little bit better. He's still not a good NFL quarterback, but he's getting to be an okay NFL quarterback. And that's really all they need because their defense is outstanding. I also love watching Robert Saleh on the sideline because I hear the energy in that stadium from Jets fans, and I think he channels that energy. And it seems almost like he's a fan at times, the way he reacts to things. I kind of like this sort of chip on the shoulder. No one believes we're any good now that Aaron Rodgers is down. Now you got Rodgers, not in a walking boot, not in a cast, not on crutches, walking around on the sideline during games. I'm here for this Jet story, Dan. I love it. I'm rooting for them. I like Saleh because he seems like a fan on the sideline at times. I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to be truly in the playoff mix in the AFC, but I'm here to watch it regardless.
Hey, last thing before I let you go. Notre Dame, Caleb Williams, I don't know. I read how great this guy is. Notre Dame, and good for Marcus Freeman. That's a hell of a win for him personally in that in that job. But I got to tell you, Caleb Williams didn't look great. Not his fault, I assume. I don't know. But this guy's supposed to be the next one, the next guy.
Well, I think USC is pretty fraudulent, right? I mean, they only have the one loss. But if you really look at what they've done so far, the narrow escape against Arizona at home. They've struggled with teams they shouldn't struggle with. They always go to sleep for about 18 minutes at a time during a game and look awful. That defense is really bad. Lincoln Riley's got to figure that out. And it's probably going to start with replacing his defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch, with someone else. I think Caleb Williams is outstanding. He wasn't very good in this game. Notre Dame looks good. They've got the 2 losses, but defensively they look like a top-level college football team again. And it did feel somewhat cathartic on Saturday night, watching Marcus Freeman on the sideline, sensing the energy in the stadium, Notre Dame fans. It felt like an arrival of sorts, even though they're a week removed from getting blown out by a Louisville team that went on the road and got blown out by a 1-4 Pittsburgh team. So the season has not gone the way they really want, but that was what they needed this year. They needed to beat a top-level program. They needed to look good doing so. And they did it in front of a national TV audience on NBC in primetime. They did it in front of Irish faithful. And for that reason, that gives Marcus Freeman and this program some real momentum.
I agree. I think it was a massive win. Hey, thanks, my friend. Have a great show today.
Hey, Dan. Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
All right, buddy. We'll be right back.
Chad, also stupid, Keith Olbermann, and his response whenever Aaron Rodgers went down with the eventually it was the Achilles, but at the time, everyone's playing doctor on social media, and he retweeted one of the doctors that said it could be a Liz Frank foot injury as well. Olbermann retweeted and posted another hashtag sudden Liz Frank due to failure to vaccinate. Well, Rodgers went on Pat McAfee and responded to Olbermann.
Hey, hold on, there's another guy. What's the guy? Keith Olbermann said that.
You love him, though.
Because you're not vaxxed, that's why it happened.
Yep.
Yeah, get your 5th booster, Keith.
Anyway.
He didn't hold back. And Rodgers is back on with McAfee.
Get your 5th booster, Keith, is terrific. Perfect way to handle that.
I'm sure he has.
Aaron Rodgers said a lot in his hit on McAfee, too. He said, don't expect him to be on the sideline anytime soon with the recovery, but that he's hoping to get up in a booth. And he said he joked that I hope they give me a headset so I can at least give a few plays, call a few plays over the game with what I'm seeing. Seemed to be in relatively good spirits given the circumstances.
If he's on headset.
But a great line about Keith Olbermann, who has just become a complete and total caricature.
Yeah,
and just a loser. I just don't understand.
He's playing into it too.
Keith Olbermann was a really good broadcaster and good at what he did on SportsCenter, and now he's become a cartoon, and I don't get it.
Yeah, and then last season, not requiring it. The season prior, you've got Rodgers who was inoculated, and Olbermann was leading the charge against him, and then soon after, the league stopped.
Hey, good for McAfee bringing it up on a network, by the way, that got sued by Sage Steele because she sued them about speaking out against vaccinations.
That's right.
Welcome back. Now, you got to understand, growing up as a Chicago Bears fan and being 61 years old, I was used to a lot of losing. I mean, I remember when the Bears and the Steelers were actually in the same division. This is going way back. And the Steelers were awful. But then all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Singletary, Samurai Mike came to Chicago along with Wilbur Marshall, Otis Wilson, Dan Hampton, Mongo, Plank, Fensick, Richardson, Frazier, you name it. And the Bears were the best defense I have ever seen. And the leader of that, the great Mike Singletary, former man of the year in the NFL, joins. Mike, thanks for the time. I got to ask you, man, 85, I don't know that people understand because times are so different now, but you dudes were rock stars. McMahon had a place. Fensick had a bar. Chicago was insane with you guys.
Well, it was a great time. I mean, we did have a lot of fun, sometimes a little too much, but it was a great time. We really had a great time.
I'm watching a documentary. I go to the documentary in Chicago, and I didn't realize this. I didn't realize you guys just practiced in some neighborhood high school football field.
We did for a while. It took the Bears a little while before we got our own facility. We practiced in a bubble. We had to drive across town, getting back to the facility at 6 and 7 at night. But yeah, it was an interesting time. But it was all good for us because every time we spent together, it was fun. Being on that bus on the way back from practice. It was a crazy time.
Mike, when there were always reports, Ditka and Buddy Ryan, and by all accounts, they didn't like each other. Did they at least respect one another?
Absolutely. I know for a fact that they really respected each other. Buddy was a tremendous mind, and Coach Ditka was a tremendous heart and understanding of the game as well. And the two of them really. I know they understood each other and they understood the need for each other.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because you never really saw back then, or really any time, a defensive guy be considered kind of the de facto head coach. Like it looked to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I was reading up, forever on you guys, and the defense wouldn't eat with the offense, and Buddy Ryan made sure that there was, we don't like you, you don't like us kind of a thing. Was that accurate?
It depends on what day it was. I think that, when we practice, I think practice sometimes was our game. We got after each other, and Coach Ditka would have the guys cut us, and then we would go live, and it was kind of crazy, but we had the mentality. We were young, we were crazy, we were a lot of different things, but I think the most important thing is we were really determined to be great.
Man, best I ever saw it. I've watched it, coached it, whatever. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Teams are lucky to get a first down. The current Bears, a lot of conversation on Justin Fields. You made a living knocking the hell out of quarterbacks. Have the Bears failed Justin Fields?
You know what? I've learned that watching something from a distance, you never really quite know the story. And I think Justin Fields, when I look at him, I see a quarterback that has a great future. If he can just get the pieces around him and have a little time, I think he's going to be special.
Used to be guys had to wait. You waited, then you played, then you did your thing. Hell, Jim Plunkett played, then went away, then came back. You mentioned Fields, and in time, people are impatient. What's the vibe? What is a reasonable amount of time for a quarterback these days?
Well, I really think more so than time, it is being in a system long enough. Sometimes a guy has different coordinators and when that changes, it kind of sets the clock back. But I just think that for Justin, and just like any other quarterback, it's just there's a time that's going to come into place. As long as he continues to work, one day it's going to come together, and hopefully sooner than later.
What do you see out of the Bears as a whole? What do they have to do to become a noteworthy team, to get back where they need to be?
Well, I think right now it's just a matter of coming together, and the leaders amongst that team coming together and making a decision that, you know what, we may not have this right now. We may not have that in place. We may not have whatever it is, but taking the excuses out of the way, and let's get out here and do the very best that we can, and not listen to all of the naysayers and all of the distractions or what have you. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to have to be the leaders inside that locker room coming together and echoing some of the things that the coaches are saying and beginning to try and put something together.
You know, every coach has like a shelf life. Even Coach Ditka in Chicago had a shelf life. Belichick seems like that's what's happening with him now. Would you agree that every coach has like a, I don't know, Ed Orgeron said it, like his deal is about 6 years and then he's done. Belichick been there a long time. This isn't going great. You know, at my school, I played basketball at Indiana for Bobby Knight, and the saying in coaching is, if Indiana fires Bobby Knight, they'll fire you too. You know what I mean? If the Colts will cut Peyton Manning, they'll cut your ass too. You know what I mean? Seems like Belichick has kind of a shelf life here.
Well, I think, I think we all understand that no matter how great you are, at some point in time, it's that time. And sometimes you understand it as a player, and sometimes the organization has to understand it and move forward. So I just think that at the end of the day, it's just a matter of, you know what, everybody will know when.
Yeah, and that's hard. I mean, it's hard to say. Was it hard? Was it hard for you to know when to retire?
No, it was not hard. It was not hard because the trainer that I had, I told him to turn it up every year. And I started a couple of weeks after the Pro Bowl. Every year, I want you to turn it up a notch. And going into my last year, my 12th year, I realized that it was time. He turned it up, and I was like, wow, you know what? I'm not willing to do all of those little things. I mean, he was killing me, and I knew that's time. It's time to go.
It's not only coaches, though. It is players. Sometimes players don't want to admit that. But I've always said this, Mike, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're not at whatever level that you need to be your best, you can get killed out on a football field. Basketball, we're full of shit, Mike. I mean, you know, we act like we're tough and all that kind of stuff. Football, if you ain't ready, or you're going half speed, or you're not in optimal, you can get killed out there.
No, you're exactly right. As a football player, it comes down to timing. And, the little things that you have to do, making sure that you get out of the way, and you got enough time, and you understand that when you deliver a blow or when you take a blow, man, that feels different than it did before. But I think so much of it really is mental. When you get out there and things are moving around you and you're not in that same rhythm that you've been before, then you begin to understand, you know what, I need to move on. It's time. It's been good, but I got to move on.
What do you think? It feels like, well, the day is so much different. I mean, the violence is, it's still there. I don't want to go out there, but I mean, people say the violence isn't there. It's like players, it seems to me, Mike, have figured out maybe how to not hit a quarterback maybe not how to hit a guy out of bounds and maybe not to target. How tough is that for a player to all of a sudden have about that much room to hit somebody, whereas forever in the NFL it was just like blast a guy?
Well, I definitely think that some of the rules were necessary. Some of them really, really made sense. I really appreciate quarterback being on the sideline and somebody just not coming and wiping him out. A guy standing up throwing the ball, you know the ball is gone. Don't go in there and hit the guy. So things like that, I think makes a lot of sense. And the biggest thing for the officials is just making sure that it's consistent. I think sometimes it's kind of tough to know exactly how to hit the guy, how to hit the quarterback, when not to hit the quarterback. I see guys on the sideline, and the guy doesn't know if he should hit him or not, and the quarterback keeps running for a couple of yards. So wait a minute, hold on now. So I just think that, as long as the rules are consistent and everybody understands on both sides of the ball what's legal, what's not, then I think it's going in the right direction.
We just talked about that exact thing. Josh Allen seems to do that. He knows you're not going to unload on him, so he does that. So instead of, hey, look, I'm going to go down here, I get another 3 to 5 yards, and I'm with you. Like, that's taking, I don't know, man. If I'm a linebacker, I'm a safety, I'm not happy with that move.
Yeah, I know it. It's some quarterbacks take advantage of that rule, and you got to get what you can while you can, but one of these times you're going to get caught.
All right, last thing before I let you go. Walter Payton was the best football player that I ever saw. I mean, Walter Payton, I'm a kid, and I wanted to be Wally Chambers, and then everybody wanted to be Walter Payton, right? I had like a number 60 Wally Chambers jersey, and then we all wanted to be Walter Payton. We carried the ball like this and all that kind of stuff. How great was he in your eyes?
He was really, really special. When you looked at Walter, I was the guy that didn't like running backs until I saw him.
Right.
And he was a guy that you had to like him. You had to appreciate the work ethic. He was a blue-collar running back. He was a guy that was made for the Bears. And I think he was just at the right place at the right time in the right city. And, the people just adopted him, and the team adopted him. He was just an amazing person, electrical.
Mike, last thing before I let you go. You watch quarterbacks now. Who's a quarterback that you like? Who's somebody you like? Man, that dude would be tough to stop.
Wow. Patrick Mahomes comes to mind. I think Patrick Mahomes really does a tremendous job. I think the guy in Cincinnati is beginning to get back on track. Tua right now is playing lights out in the system that he's in, getting the ball out of his hands. That's really cool to see. But there are a couple of more that are out there. But right off the top of my head, those are the guys. I like the guy Hurts that's at Philly. I think he is going to continue to develop into a great quarterback. So there are a number of them out there, and I'm excited about what I'm seeing amongst the quarter. Josh Allen, I really like him as well. The blue collar guy, I like him.
Who was the best you played against?
Wow. I would have to say the guy that gave us the toughest time was Joe Montana. I think Joe Montana was a tremendous mixture of his talent and having a tremendous system and having tremendous skilled players around him. That was very, very difficult to stop.
Yeah, I'll live to be 1,000 years old, and I'll never see a defense play better than you guys did against Dallas on national TV. I swear to God, I've never seen anything before, and I've never seen anything like it since. Mike, thanks for coming on, man. It's an honor to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. God bless. Take care.
Yeah, that's a great Mike Singletary. I first saw him on the Bob Hope show. I'm sitting there as a kid, I'm watching Bob Hope, and here comes Mike Singletary out, and I'm like, whoa, I like that guy. And the next thing you know, he goes to the Bears, and he keeps a long-standing tradition. Bill George, Dick Butkus, God rest his soul, Mike Singletary, then Brian Urlacher came, and man, oh man, I'm just telling you, as a kid growing up in and around Chicago, there was no more fun than a Sunday afternoon watching the 84, 85, 86 Bears led by Mike Singletary in the middle. The offense was great. Willie Gault, Walter Payton, we were all, as I said, we all wanted to be Walter Payton, and Jim McMahon was doing his thing. But I'm telling you, man, Mike Singletary, Dan Hampton, Steve McMichael, Richard Dent, Wilbur Marshall, Otis Wilson, Gary Fensick. Doug Plank was gone. 46 defense was named after Doug Plank. But, man, Mike Richardson, Hollywood. And then Leslie Frazier was in there. Ron Rivera was in there as a backup. These dudes were the baddest dudes I've ever seen in my life. I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. And every Sunday, it was like, I'd tell Coach Knight, man, I'm going to be a little late for practice as a grad assistant. Actually, I wouldn't tell him. I'd just show up late because the damn Bears were on. Holy cow, was that good. All right, we're going to get to some other stuff. News of the day, and this is great news for my stepdaughter, Tegan. She wants to be a general manager in Major League Baseball. The lady, Nancy N.G., Gwynn, I don't know how you say her name. You say it however you'd like. She got fired with the Marlins. That's bad news, actually, because Tegan needs to go intern with her, woman to woman, Harvard to Harvard. So I'm not happy about this. But anyway, we'll go stock up, stock down. Ladies and gentlemen, stock up. You know I like to pat myself on the back. You know if I'm not promoting myself, then who the hell is promoting me? And the answer is nobody. But I got to tell you, the house bet. The house bet has moved to 6-0. The house bet is unbeaten. There's been 7 seasons in 7 games in college football. I missed one because, well, frankly, I didn't like the bet. I didn't like the action that week. Well, guess what? I did this past week, and oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, oh, by the way, the house bet moved to 6-0. It was North Carolina -3 against Miami of Florida. Now, the game was close. It went, whatever. And next thing you know, what was going to happen happened. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, Miami was going to go away. Drake May did not have a great game. Decent second half. But next thing you know, we won the house bet. Our toes are tapping. We're going to Sizzler. Whatever thing you want to make out of it. The Washington Huskies, Michael Penix Jr., congratulations. Always seemed like a great kid at Indiana. He energized Indiana University football during the pandemic. Epic picture of him reaching for the pylon in an empty Memorial Stadium to beat Penn State. Also beat Michigan for the first time since 1987. But he was skinny. He was really skinny, and it felt like every time that he got hit, he was going to get hurt, and he did for a couple years. He followed eventually Caleb DeBoer, who was his offensive coordinator at Indiana. DeBoer went to South Alabama, ended up at Washington. Next thing you know, Michael Penix Jr. is at Washington, and it's actually kind of fun. I know a lot of IU people are sad about it. I know a lot of IU people are upset about it. Well, it's kind of fun to watch Michael Penix Jr. do his thing. It kind of is. I mean, what are you going to do? I believe Indiana University is the worst Power 5 football team in America. They gave up not 10, not 20, not 30, not 40, but 52 straight points after taking a 7-0 lead against Michigan. We're all like, hey, here we go. They were a 34, not 35-point underdog. They gave up, they gave up 52 straight. So what do we got to root for? What do we got to root for? Michael Penix Jr. going ahead and winning the damn Heisman Trophy. And Caleb DeBoer, the guy that was here as an assistant coach, I just go ahead and win national championship, just sweep it, and we can all act like at Indiana University we had something to do with it. Don't at me. That's all we got. Detroit Lions moved to 5-1. Dan Campbell's team, well, frankly, they just guard you. Now, to use a college basketball term, they just get in your ass and they guard you. They work on their guarding every day, and they came out and did what teams do. They played to their strengths against Tampa Bay. In fact, I would argue they played to their strengths so well, they made, now I'm not saying he wouldn't have said this against any team, but I don't think he would have done it. They actually made Baker Mayfield talk about how bad he was after the game. He was talking about how he played like feces, how he played like something that just happened in that back bathroom right there. And not in a good way, ladies and gentlemen. No, not in a good way at all. Now, if you're going to play against Dan Campbell and you are going to play against the Detroit Football Lions, you're going to have to bring it. I hate to say it, a lot of people still stuck in the past with the Lions. A lot of people up in Michigan that I know in the northwest part of Ohio who, well, you become Lions fans because that's who you get on TV, Lions and Browns, so you're stuck with them. But they have won 4 straight. They won 20-6. Baker Mayfield was god-awful. And guess what? Now, hang on one second here. Before I anoint them, they have beaten the Chiefs, the Falcons. They won in Green Bay in a rivalry game, Panthers and Buccaneers. I'm not saying, and they lost to the Seahawks at home. I'm not saying it's been an absolute murderer's row, but when one of the wins on your resume is an opener at Kansas City, I ain't mad at you. I'm not mad at you even a little bit. Now you go to the Ravens. 2 out of the next 3 are on the road. Ravens on the road, Raiders at home, who must be playing better, and then at the Chargers. We shall see what we shall see, but I got to tell you, Dan Campbell's team plays like Dan Campbell's team should play. And that is hard-nosed, tough, defensive-minded. 19 for 37, 206 yards, an interception by Mayfield. Let me go to what Jared Goff has done. Jared Goff yesterday, 30 for 44, which means they trust him. I'm sorry, but they do. 363 yards, 2 TDs. Now, if you don't, and this is what I kind of asked Mike Singletary, if you don't start out house of fire, like a lot of quarterbacks don't, do you give up on him? And the answer with Goff is hell no. Why would you give up on a guy that has immense talent? If you're a first pick in the draft, you got immense talent. You just do. And unless you're soft or don't work hard at it, I don't know what Mitch Trubisky's problem is, but I would think that people would say, wait, Jared Goff is back in business. Let me try to do that if I were Trubisky, but maybe that ship too has passed. But the dude is slinging the caca. He's, let me see this here. He's completing 2/3 of his passes. He has over, ladies and gentlemen, 1,000 yards already. Don't at me. He's playing 1,600 yards already, 4,500 yards last year. The dude is back in business. When you're an NFL kicker and you're going to be kicking for, I don't know, the San Francisco 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, teams of that ilk, you better make clutch kicks because you're going to have big time, big moment kicks. Jake Moody missed one. Now, I don't know. I guess we're all supposed to crush him. I'm sure we are. Jake Moody plays for the 49ers, and the 49ers in Cleveland got beat. People lost their mind. Jake Moody had a chance from 41 yards. It was 19-17. This is what every kicker wants. Every single kicker wants to kick a 45-yard field goal to win the game, particularly when you kicked at Michigan and you get to do it in Ohio. Period. Particularly when your team spent a third-round draft choice on you. Now think about that. Third round, pick 99 of the NFL draft, Jake Moody, and he missed. Look, I don't know. I know he made one of three. I mean, he missed one, 41 yards, and he missed one past 50. When you're picked in that spot, you're expected to deliver. Mario Cristobal, you did it again. Your assistant ran onto the field. There was no discipline in the coaching staff, and your team fell apart basically after that. I told you going into the game, players don't want coaches to lose them the game. Mario Cristobal did it a week ago. He could not figure out, take a knee, let the clock run, take a knee, let the clock run, take a knee. Clock runs out, game is over. He had to hand it off. We're not going to blame the player. We're going to blame the coach. Now his defensive coordinator gets himself onto the field. And that ain't never good. That ain't never good. Flag. Next thing you know, North Carolina touchdown. I looked immediately at the player's body language, and safe to say it wasn't great. USC got trounced. Caleb Williams threw 3 interceptions. It's really all you need to know. Now, the important thing was, where did they get trounced? At Notre Dame. It was one of those games, stock down Caleb Williams and USC. Carson Palmer's brother, Jordan, a former NFL quarterback, now an NFL passing guru, said earlier in the week that Caleb Williams was the best quarterback I've been around. And I've been around a lot. Maybe he is. Maybe he's going to be NFL ready. Maybe he's going to be NFL great. But I got to tell you, didn't look like it. Kind of looked ordinary. Truth of the matter is, in a weird way, he kind of looked disinterested, or maybe his confidence was shook. Again, according to my peeps that were there, F. Cameron Cefali and his kids, the joint was jumping. The joint was loud. He goes every year to a couple Notre Dame games, and he's like, hey, I haven't heard it like this. Good for Notre Dame fans. A lot of fan bases with 2 losses are crushing the souls of their team. We can't get in the playoffs. That's what we're here to do. A lot of people were talking about Marcus Freeman, and not in a positive way. Well, I got to tell you, good for Marcus Freeman. Great for Marcus Freeman. Look, I don't know whether hiring a guy because he's a player's coach is good, bad, happy, or sad, but I know this. Marcus Freeman seems like a good dude. Seems like a really good dude. And Notre Dame seems like a together team. And they certainly showed it in blowing out USC. All right, when we come back, I got a lot of mo. Is Jeff Van Gundy with the Celtics? What the hell's going on around here? Jeffrey Simmons, NFL stud in the middle for the Titans, not happy with his teammates. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for the hottest sportsbook offers? At OutKick, find exclusive promos, expert picks, and the latest odds. Get in the game at OutKick.com/bet.
What does it say to you when there's these business owners who don't understand your vision of what you have for these places? I mean, you're giving them publicity at the end of the day. Even if you're not giving them the best review on the board, you're still putting their name out there on a platform that allows millions of people to realize their business, when otherwise they probably would have just remained, a smaller business.
Yeah, he's a moron. It had nothing to do with how I was ranking the pizza. And he said that. He said a million things, like he doesn't want publicity. He keeps talking about it, but he just hated me. He didn't really know who I was. I'm sure it's the way his politics are, because if you go look at his feed, it's what I'd expect. It's extreme left, and those are the types of people who generally hate me before they meet me. But he said he wanted to yell at me before I even stepped in the store, so it had nothing to do with the review. And he's a clown show. He is one of the worst people. He's everything that is wrong with this country, and that's not exaggerating. But he's made up his mind before he meets somebody, picks a fight, and then the rest is history. But for me, it's good. It was the most viral thing we've had in a long time.
Yeah. And have you had any other pizza owners from places you covered in the past reach out to you and say, wow, we can't believe this guy? Like, look at the great things that you've done for our business because of the One Bite Pizza review.
Yeah. that's the thing that's crazy. There's a lot of things that people could cherry pick that people have said about me that be like, oh, he's a bad guy, this and that. Pizza and small business is not one of them. That pretty uniformly across the board. People like Dave, very good for pizza. He's very good for small business. It's how we're doing this pizza fest. Like we get places that would never do it, but it's like we like what, like I did an interview with Lucali, which is one of the most famous pizza places there is. And they're asking Mark, the owner, is like, why'd you agree? We don't see Lucali doing this type of thing. It's like Dave has done so much good for the pizza industry. This guy didn't care. This guy had no answers. He was just a clown.
People are asking me, and I don't know. I guess we'll find out today. I really don't know if Anthony Richardson is going to have surgery. I'm going to be with Kent Sterling on Hot Mic. Not Hot Mic. I'm going to be with Kent Sterling on Two Big Brains coming up at 11 o'clock. You can go to our YouTube page and find us. Maybe he will have some answers on it. I honestly don't know. He maybe not. But if he does, and this is what we told you about Anthony Richardson, with that shoulder, and once you get that AC joint popped out, it pops out constantly. And the only thing you're going to be able to do, and for lack of a better way to describe it, is tie it or nail it down, put it in a boom, you know what, surgery, get that thing, boom, and let it wrap it. And my wife has nails and all kind of stuff in there, screws or whatever you want to call it. And that's what's going to happen. And whoever called that play, man, oh man, I cannot even believe that whoever called a naked bootleg with a guy that's oft injured, oh, I don't get it. Here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Sauce Gardner didn't play. Sauce Gardner, the stud cornerback. I got to say it slowly because I say quarterback like cornerback, and I don't want to do that. So it's cornerback of the New York Football Jets was not very happy. Not very happy. He said in his Instaface or Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, the crazy thing is I feel perfectly fine. I know. Hey, look, I've had a couple concussions, and it's a weird deal. I like Sauce Gardner a lot. I think he's a nice kid. I think he's an interesting kid. And I like when he plays. He's a good player. He'll talk a little smack. It's going to be Sauce Island like it was Revis Island, I suppose. I don't know. But that's the thing with concussions, and that makes concussions very dangerous, particularly for parents and coaches, high school, grade school, whatever. You think you got a damn concussion, or they tell you you got a concussion and you don't know when it's over. I've had two. One put me in a hospital. I don't know what to tell you. It's really, really difficult. Speaking of the NFL, look, I don't know how you guys feel about this. I'm curious. I'm going to go to the YouTube chat because I want to find out. I want to find out how everybody feels about a Super Bowl in London. Now, I don't care that the start time would probably be 3:30 our time. I guess that's 8:30 or 9:30 in London. But how do you feel about it? Like, at some point, don't we have to make America better? Don't we have to help cities in America that invest week after week, year after year in NFL teams? I mean, that's the way I look at it. Look, I know that London and a global market is what the NFL wants because that means more money. I think we all understand that. I think we do. But the fact of the matter is, you take the Super Bowl, and it's not just the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl week. I mean, when Indianapolis had the Super Bowl, I've said this before. I remember walking from my parking garage downtown on Illinois Street out about 5-6 blocks to the JW Marriott where the Radio Row was. We were doing our show from there. And there was a ton of bars and restaurants there, packed. I think my show was from 10 to 1 in the morning, or 10 to 1 during those days. And it was packed. The weather was beautiful, which for Indianapolis doesn't happen in early to mid-February, but it was. And these bars, these restaurants, these places were jam-packed. And I don't like it. I don't like to see that go away from a town. Now, I think we all understand the almighty dollar talks, and I think we all understand global money, blah, 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 blah. I'm with Sean Black. I would like to see the Super Bowl in Lambeau. I would like to see the Super Bowl in Cleveland. I would like to see the Super Bowl in Pittsburgh before I want to see it in London. Nothing against London. London's great. Went there and watched the Colts play. Nothing against Frankfurt, where the Colts are playing in 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. Hey, look, nothing against any of those places. They're fine places. Somebody, an OutKick on the YouTube channel said, hey, how about the Super Bowl at the Roman Coliseum? I could get down with that. But just to move it into what, a soccer stadium in London, Wembley? I don't know. How about we help the teams, we help the places that are day to day, week to week, month to month, helping the NFL? How about we help those cities? I mean, until the idiotic riots of the Summer of Love, Indianapolis was still reaping the benefits of having the Super Bowl here. Indianapolis put a zip line like through downtown or through the area by the convention center, and somebody told me that made as much money as anything. Innovation, helping downtown, publicizing downtown, to me, it's got to be about the cities. Jim Anderson, you use tax dollars to build stadiums, and then you take the biggest event in the country to Europe. That's a slap in the face. Period. And it shouldn't happen. I just don't like it. I don't like anything about it. Speaking of NFL, I like when things like this happen, but they're happening too frequently with the Tennessee Titans. Jeffrey Simmons is a stud. Like, Jeffrey Simmons got paid. Jeffrey Simmons should get paid. Jeffrey Simmons is all about, you know what? Playing well, playing tough, playing hard. Some of his teammates aren't, and Jeffrey Simmons isn't having it. Listen to this. We need to figure out the guys who are going to fight, because that's what football is, hand-to-hand combat. We need to figure out the guys who want to be out there, not the guys that don't want to be out there. That's what it needs to be. We need to reevaluate our team and figure that out. That's the message. Let's figure out who wants to play football for the Titans. Boy, oh boy, that's, to me, Now, I don't watch the 22 film on the Titans. I do occasionally on the Colts, because the 22 film, which shows all 22 guys on the field, really shows you the game. What we see on TV, I swear to you, is a different game than what we see with the 22 film. It's like when I got into coaching, Coach Knight had the tape of our practice and our games from up top in the balcony. You saw the whole court. Totally different than watching it on TV, not even close. So I don't know what the 22 film says, but I would hope that Jeffrey Simmons is not calling out guys when for something that he is doing himself, if you understand what I'm saying. It's always interesting to me. Always. Hey, this is pretty cool, and I like this. We're getting ready to get into basketball season. And I got to tell you, Caitlin Clark of Iowa should be playing against Angel Reese of LSU in the opener, in a football field, in front of 50, 60,000 people. Because both of them are interesting. Caitlin Clark, you know, she did the whole this. Angel Reese beat her. She gave her the business. Clark's people weren't happy about it. Reese parlayed that into cover shoots all over, NIL, players from other schools transferring in to play with them. There's talk of a two-peat. Kim Mulkey has done a great job. Well, guess what? Yesterday, the Iowa women put a court basically on the field, in the end zone, wherever, of Kinnick Stadium, where the Hawkeyes play football. Look at this thing. There it is on the left. 55,000 people showed up to watch the women of Iowa practice. It couldn't have been warm. Look at the skies. Doesn't look that it's cold, but let me tell you something. There's a difference between cold and Iowa City cold. Iowa City cold literally goes through you. I don't know the name of the bullets, but bullets that go through you, that's what Iowa City cold is. Well, 55,000, and they did that really cool thing. I think you can see the high-rise over there. I believe that's the kids' hospital. And what they do before, I think the fourth quarter in Iowa City during games at Kinnick Stadium is the coolest tradition in football. They wave to the kids that are in the cancer center up there. I believe it's a children's cancer center. Well, 55,000 people did it yesterday during a practice. Now, people can say, well, women's sports suck. No, they don't. Women's sports are the next big thing. We saw 91,000 show up for a Nebraska-Omaha volleyball game in the middle of Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. We saw a record attendance yesterday for the WNBA Finals on a football Sunday. Now we see 55,000 people. I tell you what I would do if I were Kim Mulkey. I'd say, hey, let's do it. Let's play in the middle of Kinnick Stadium. Let's do it. Open the season or go to a dome. I don't know if it's called the Superdome or the Mercedes-Benz Dome. I don't know. But Iowa LSU has got to be played. Women's basketball may never see the likes of a rival like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. You got to do it, people. You just got to do it. Hey, raise your hand if you've ever done anything with a hangover. I don't know. I think I've done this show with a hangover. I don't get hangovers much anymore because I know that like 2 beers gives me a hangover. Seriously. Rangers pitcher Max Scherzer celebrated when the Rangers got to the ALDS, I guess is what it's called. He celebrated with his teammates. The champagne was flowing. It went on into the night. Only problem was Max Scherzer had a sim game, see if he was healthy, which means simulated game that he had to pitch the next day. Max Scherzer said, not sure I was throwing my best. I was hung. We used to call it, how well hung are you today? Oh, man, I'm hung to the ground. How about you? Oh, man, I'm hanging. Those are normal conversations for guys. Take them wherever you want. Well, Max Scherzer was hanging. Not his arm, which hangs. No, not his pee-pee, which hangs. No, his head. He was hanging. He was hanging rough. And he had to get in and throw the simulator game. And listen. As you get older, and Scherzer's in his upper 30s, the last thing you need is a hangover. I'm 60. I'm telling you right now, hangovers hurt. They hurt for 2 days. And it doesn't even have to be, it used to have to be the wild night. Man, we're out, we're hanging out, and then we come back, we're sitting around, we're having beers until whenever. Then you get a hangover. No. 2 beers. And next thing you know, I'm like, oh, man. In fact, the other day, I had 2 beers. No problem. But I kept going to the bathroom. And finally, after going at 2 and then at 3:15, I'm like, I'm pushing this bad boy out. I'm not getting up again in an hour. Pee, not poop. Next thing you know, I got a headache. I gave myself a hangover. I did. I legitimately gave myself a hangover. They hurt. They really hurt. Congratulations to Bill Martin. Bill Martin lives out in Colorado, and he's been watching our show for years. His grandson's team is now 8-0 with 2 games left in the regular season. Yeah, there you go. Congratulations to both Bruce Bochy, who got unceremoniously fired by the San Francisco Giants, who just fired the guy that replaced him, Gabe Kapler, and my favorite baseball manager, Dusty Baker. Dusty caught hell in Chicago because apparently he wore pitchers out. Get off my lawn, people. Dusty Baker goes places and he wins. He's old school enough. He is. That players respect him. They show up on time. They do what's right. Oh, by the way, a little baseball here. I don't know if you saw this last night, but man, holy cow. Guess what? In Houston, the Astros got shut out. Shut out by the Rangers. Again, I will tell you of my stupidity, okay? I went to one Cubs game. They played the Rangers. The Rangers were so bad. Second baseman went like this. Right fielder and center fielder let a ball drop. I mean, it was insanity. I thought they were horrible. Guess I'm wrong. Jordan Montgomery pitched 7 scoreless. I mean, what are you going to do? Justin Verlander was on the other bump. 6 1/3 scoreless. Second straight scoreless effort in the playoffs. Starting pitching, 6-0 in the postseason for the Rangers. Yeah. Excuse me. There you go. A lot of you are asking me tonight, am I going to have a bet? Yeah. Go to my Twitter page. When I'm not complaining about Indiana, I'll probably be having a bet for you. Last night was wild. Indiana got a heck of a commitment, Liam McNeely. And that's great. But all of Indiana loses their mind. This dude's got to do it at halftime of one of his buddies' games on national TV. I just want guys, and I know I'm old school, get off my lawn guy. I just want guys that don't necessarily need the publicity. Just show up at Indiana, kick everybody's ass. I told you that about a kid named Tamar Bates. Tamar Bates signed late, came late in the summer, and walked around Indiana's workout with guys working out like he owned the joint. Just stop. Stop it, stupid. I just want Dane Fife, Jared Jeffries, George Leach, not a highly recruited kid, Jeffrey Newton, high-ish, but not really. Tommy Coverdale, we had to send him to prep school. Kyle Hornsby, nobody saw the value that Indiana, Bob Knight saw in Kyle Hornsby. Donald Perry, A.J. Moy, just guys that played hard. They didn't care who scored. They didn't care who defended. They didn't care about anything but winning. That's why I'm wearing my Indiana shirt. I want to be like Indiana fanboy. It's hard for me. 23 years of garbage, except for 2002. I don't know. It's just me. All right, give me the Wokadope. Monster day today. Thank you all for being here. You all are awesome. Like and subscribe, will you please? Like and subscribe. Calbert Cheney, we turned Calbert Cheney down. Gritty, no. Katie said no. Cruz said yes. Next thing you know, we're like, Felling told Coach Knight, you're making a mistake. Thank God for Felling. Thought I'd be more happy. Now that Trump is out of office, I feel a bit empty. Be patient. They will tell us who to hate soon. Boy, is that true. I'm tired of hating. I'm going to become a lover. Gritty, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become a lover, not a fighter. I'm going to become a lover of all things Indiana. I'm going to tattoo Indiana on my ass. I am. And I'm going to hope that everybody gets along. You know what I mean? Be a lover. Don't be a hater. Next. This is the smartest man that Joe Biden knows. This is Hunter Biden. You talk about lived hard, put away wet. That's Hunter Biden. Honest to God. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Hunter Biden. Holy hell. Hunter Biden's younger than me. See these bad boys? They're beautiful. Fake as hell. Got knocked out 3 different times, but beautiful. Yeah. Hey, Dan, I got in trouble for saying your name on Indiana Rivals. I told the story you just told about Felling. See, guys that are on websites didn't actually go to Indiana. People that went to Indiana love Double D. Next! The amount of steps on Air Force One is too damn high. Hey, my man tripped again. My man tripped a few times again. I don't know what his problem is. Well, everybody, I have two friends that work in and around the White House, and I'm not supposed to say this, but I will say it. Look, here's the deal. He doesn't pick his feet up. And I got to tell you, as somebody that's older, I understand it. I tell my wife all the time, hey, flat carpets only. Flat. That's it. Flat. Nothing like this. Nothing up high. Flat carpets only. Only. That's it. Period. Because when you get older, you shuffle. It's what you do. You just shuffle. Seriously. Don't. Let me ask you a question. I've been falling upstairs since I was a little kid. We had these, we call them the hard stairs, going about 6 stairs going to this little basement that we had. And I was always in a hurry, so I would run up them. Raise your hand. How many of you have ever fallen up hard stairs or fallen upstairs? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? I have. So, hey, look, in the interest of loving all things, I got to tell you, I love it. I don't like it. I love it when he falls upstairs. It makes me feel better about myself. It just does. Headline. I went to the site. Headline. McNeely commits, signifying a new era. Here it is. Liam McNeely commitment signifies new era in Indiana basketball. Oh, jeez. Did you know that all of our new eras in Indiana basketball, Tom Crean, I thought he did a great job. I thought he did a great job. I'm sorry. I thought he did a great job. But whether it was Bracy Wright, Eric Gordon, DJ White, Cody Zeller, who else? Trace Jackson Davis, James Blackman, Romeo Langford, that group in this century, 23 years, 2 Sweet 16s, 0. I'm going to say it again, 0 Elite Eights, 0 Final Fours, 2 Big Ten titles. That group. All right. Okay. Nothing I can say. I like winning, and I want Indiana to win. I want Indiana to win like it's their job. And I don't need the next big thing. I want dudes that are going to get after it. I want dudes that want to win for Indiana. And if you don't, I don't want you around because, frankly, I've heard enough about it. Dan Dakich is such a sad, miserable person. He's been trashing this kid in recruitment all week. No, I haven't. Nope. No, I haven't. I said I'm tired of guys that make it about them. I get criticized often for averaging like 3.5 points a game at Indiana. Well, I got to tell you, we were about sacrifice. I don't know. I also got to start and captain and star, if you ask me, on an Elite 8 team. I think that beats the hell out of averaging 15 on bad teams and then going to the D League or whatever league. I'm just saying. I hope everybody has a great afternoon. We're going to have a monster week. I hope my stepdaughter applies for the job as a general manager. There you go. Look at Gritty. My dad had this album when I was a kid. It terrified me. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Look at Hunter Biden, Jennifer. Sheesh. All right. Have a great afternoon. Aaron.